Welcome to the Operation Game Night podcast. We're back and better than ever. Joining me, as always, is Clayton Gable. How you doing, Clay?
I'm doing great, Travis. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Because
Of
today
course.
we are talking Hercules and the 12 Labors. Have you heard anything about this game before?
As you know, I went to PAX Unplugged
Okay.
recently, and this was at the top of the hotness list of games that were being hyped that were at PAX. And I did swing by the old booth and checked it out. And I was on the fence because it looks super cool.
Yeah.
I like the theme. Hercules, great Disney film. I don't know about the 12 labors. Maybe you'll illuminate some of that here for me today. But then I was like, never do solo gaming. So do I really want to invest in a solo game? But maybe you'll put me over the edge here today. It doesn't take a lot.
Okay. Well, I think this game is pretty cool, and I think you might dig it. It is a little swingy. It's got a little mechanic fiddliness to it, but we're going to talk about it. So, Hercules and the 12 Labors is published by NV Born Games. Let me scroll down a little bit so you can see it. NV Born Games, designed by Tyler Brown. Artist is David Schneider Art. The art really pops in this game. The art is probably one of the most striking things about this game. The art and the design, or the publication, the production rather. There you go. The production on this one
That's
is
the word.
really nice. Really nice. Everything has like gold leaf on it from the box to the cards. The gold leaf really stands out and makes the art come alive. Really cool. So in this game, it's kind of like a card battler slash dice rolling combat game where you play as Hercules, the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Hercules, going through his 12 labors. Are you familiar with the 12 labors at all? No?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Does he do them in the movie?
He does some of them in the movie, but
Okay.
Disney, has to kind of tamp down some of the Greek tragedy of it all.
Okay.
So Zeus disguised himself and sleeps with Alcmene, has
Uh-oh.
sex with Alcmene, gives birth to Hercules. Hercules is already 1 foot in the door to being a god. Now, Zeus's wife, Hera, does not like that very much and basically decides to, punish Hercules his entire life. Doesn't want to give him the status of a god, doesn't want him to rise to power, doesn't want him to have any sort of status because he is, he's a bastard child. So he kind of gets challenged to go down and do 10 labors for King Eurystheus. Yeah,
Okay.
Eurystheus. Okay. She says, go down, do 10 labors, and maybe then you'll earn your god status. So he goes down, and this king starts throwing greater and greater challenges at him as he goes along. He starts with the Nemean lion, which has impenetrable skin. Okay. This legendary animal that he has to hunt down and kill. He goes out and he does it. Then he fights a Hydra. That might seem familiar from the movie.
I remember this.
Hydra. Okay. He starts succeeding with the Hydra. Hera actually brings out this giant crab to help fight against Hercules. Not in the movie. Then there's a deer, there's a boar. He's got to tame a bunch of horses at the Augean stables. There's a bunch of birds. There's a bull. There, tons of animals and challenges that he has to overcome. The very last one is collecting Cerberus from hell and bringing him up to the king in person, and then his 12 labors are complete. So 12 different tasks that you have to undergo in this game. And the cool part is all of this stuff is on cards, and you are rolling dice to resolve all of these 12 labors. So let me pull up a picture real quick. The cards themselves, pretty easy to read, really nice, really beautiful to look at. The card of the labor that you are completing has kind of this gold track around it, and each one starts with a labor die that has a value on it. The Nemean lion, which is your very first one, that has a value of 6 for the labor die. And so you are taking Hercules dice and rolling them and kind of resolving the different values to do damage kind of to this labor die. You're ticking down the pips as you meet these certain conditions until the labor die reduces to 0, or you don't complete the labor and Hercules dies.
Jeez.
Each labor has a specific value that you have, not a specific value, but like a specific set of dice conditions that you have to hit to start whittling down that labor die. And the labor die, like here on the video, you have the belt of Hippolyta. That's one of the labors. These 2 dice, these yellow dice that are here, are moving around this track. They started at 3, and as they move, you are trying to whittle those numbers down through completing a set of. So here at the bottom, you see. Well, this is kind of a confusing one, but the two two of the dice combined need to equal, 3. Each of the different labors has a different condition that needs to be met by your dice, and those will whittle down the labor die. But as these die move around this track that you see on the cards, it is continuously doing damage to you. It's manipulating your dice. It's changing the conditions that you require to win. And so even as you go through these labors, the game is changing, and it's all resolved through dice rolls. Well, after you complete labors, you get that card, you flip it over, and it has boons on the backside, or bonuses. Some of them increase your health. Some of them will give you additional die to roll. Some of them will allow you to change the value on the dice that you roll. And so you're trying to do your best to resolve these quickly, get the boon from that labor, and move on to the next one before you run out of health. And you're trying to not only complete the 12 labors, but earn enough of these spirit track kind of values that you see on this scorekeeping card. This yellow spirit divinity track, if you'll call it that, you have to max that out by the time you get to the end of the 12 labors, and then you earn your god status. That's a lot of words to say. They try and pack as much theme into this as possible. I think you kind of have to read through the labors and understand what the labor is asking you to do before you go into the actual labor itself. So you open the box. Let's go from the very beginning. You open the box. You have the Nemean bull staring at you, and the Nemean lion rather, and it'll give you this whole thing about the Nemean lion. It'll give you kind of the legend. Here's how this labor went down, and then you go into the combat. The next card is the Nemean lion. The theme really starts to jump through when you get to the Hydra, and the Hydra is encounter labor number 3. And this one's really cool because every time the dice moves forward, it spawns another die at the beginning of the track. And so you're trying to like whittle down more and more and more of these dice as they pop up. Like if you can kill it quickly, that's great. It's not going to happen the first round, second round. So all of a sudden you have multiple dice that are moving down the track that you have to account for and manage. And that kind of, represents the heads regrowing on the Hydra. It's kind of thematic. They try and do their best to pack theme into this. But it's a simple dice battling game that kind of walks you through the legend of the 12 labors. It is quite challenging. Not so much the rules or understanding the methods of play or the steps of play, but actually getting the dice rolls that you need is super challenging, and you have to be really smart about how you allocate your dice each and every roll to do enough damage to move forward. Each of the cards, let me scroll. Let me see if I can find a better picture of one of these cards. But each of the boons that you earn has either a blue space on it or a gold space on it, or both. And the blue spaces are boons that you can use every single dice roll. The gold spaces you have to assign a die to, and you do not get it back. So you're like kind of juggling how many dice you're rolling with the boons that you've already earned, and trying to decide how best to allocate your dice before this, the labor die runs down the track and eventually kills you. It kind of The mechanics are a little different, but it kind of reminds me of like Falling Skies. Is it Falling Skies?
Yeah, I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
the solo, you're assigning dice to these different spaces, and the enemy is advancing, right? Like that's the whole turn in Falling Skies, and you can permanently assign your dice to, get different bonuses and stuff. It kind of gives me those vibes in a much smaller box. I like the theme. I think it could probably be better represented in some of the battles, and I wish each of the battles would have had something a little bit different, because the dice rolling does get a bit samey by hours, minute 60 when you're on the last labor. I have never had a perfect run through this. I don't think anybody has, because there's lots of threads online about like how the heck are you supposed to do this. But I think it's a cool game. I think it's inexpensive. I think the box is small. I think I'm going to keep it around for a while. I think it's going to be like a travel game for me for a while. So yeah, that's Hercules and the 12 Labors. Clayton, what questions do you have for me?
So a single session of this game is trying to progress through all 12 labors. It's not like I do one labor, that's a 30-minute session.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. And then an act so what's a turn look like? Is there formal turns? I know it's a solo game, so I mean, it sounds like a lot of dice stuff. Are you rolling dice every time it's you're up and then having to assign them to spots? What's
Yes. Yeah. So you basically roll all of your Hercules dice, which are the the bluish ones that you saw earlier.
yeah.
You can assign them to the different boons that you've already earned. You kind of resolve those. You check to see how much damage you did to the labor dice, or the labor dice, depending on how many there are. You kind of whittle down the pips on that labor die, and then once that's finished, you resolve that labor die moving forward, and the different like detriments. So it'll whittle down your health. It will affect how many dice you're rolling. It'll affect the value of your dice. It'll do all sorts of different stuff depending on the symbol on that track. Then once all that is resolved, pick your dice back up. You roll again. You go again. You keep going until either you die or you defeat the labor.
Okay, gotcha. So it's like, how many dice are you rolling? Is it a fistful? As you said, it changes based on the state of the battle, but in general, how many dice are you getting to roll and assign to different actions?
Yeah, so it actually has a scalability for difficulty, and for like the beginner difficulty, you're starting with 5 dice, I think. Four dice, and then it's 3, and then 3 and some other modifiers. I'm sorry, 5, 4, and 3 for human, hero, and god difficulties. Uh, the other thing that I did not mention, you can see it here on this picture. These red cards that are kind of up in the corner with the big like moon looking thing on it, those are your mood cards. So Hercules, a legendary moody boy, has lots of mood swings. Before you start each labor, you turn over the top card on the mood deck, and that mood is either like enraged or contemplative, or you know different moods that Hercules experiences. Because he is part human, he has moods that affect his performance. So those moods will have you add a dice this labor. It will knock you down 2 health. It has these different modifiers that kind of change things up just enough where if I have to go back and replay this or replay a certain labor, it's not going to be exactly the same as it was last time. So I kind of like that it switches it up a little bit. It's not anything groundbreaking, but there are some special mood cards that you kind of shuffle in later on, depending on the story that you're working through. Those can be seen up above. So that's like the Ghost of Artemis that's up at the top here. That doesn't get shuffled in until you complete a certain labor. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I like this game.
Do you
What other
think
questions you have?
do sometimes and I say this being a very novice solo gamer,
Yeah.
but I feel like sometimes it feels like obvious what you need to do. Like, do you actually feel like you have interesting decisions to make with those die, or is it like, well, I have a 6. Obviously, I need to put it here to stop the thing, and
Mm,
I get a 4. Obviously, I want to activate this boon.
yeah.
Is there a lot of latitude to make interesting decisions, or are you pretty much just doing what makes sense at the time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that some of these solo games, especially when it comes to dice rolling, it can be really obvious what you need to do. I would say it's obvious to a point because once you earn enough boons and you have to start allocating dice to the different boons just to keep you alive, that's when it becomes really difficult. Like, do I permanently allocate this Hercules die to a permanent gold square that I will not get to roll going forward to prevent myself from dying, but I'm also decreasing my chance of rolling the numbers that I need to keep whittling down the labor die. So there's a little push pull there. Um, I flew through the first couple of these labors. Like, you can finish the first 3 in probably 5-6 minutes, and then after that, like once you get to the Hydra and going forward, they get pretty challenging and actually pretty engaging. The mechanisms are cool. The theme that they're able to inject in some of these are pretty cool. I just wish, like, part of me wishes that they would have done something different on each of them, similar to, I don't know, Vantage, right? You get to a certain area and all of a sudden it's like a Mad Call game, or they could have injected some of that into these different cards that are a little more thematic. So, like, I don't want to like spoil the mechanism for Cerberus, which is the very last labor, but basically in the legend of Hercules, he goes down and says like, "Hey Hades, can I borrow Cerberus for a while? I just got to go show him to this king." And Hades is like, "Hey, just take care of my dogs." And that like kind of that's the end of it, right? It's this, he has earned the respect of the world of the community and all that stuff, and is able to borrow Cerberus, take him up, show him to the king, and then completes his labors. But that's not really represented in the cards. You're like battling Cerberus. But so
Hmm.
could have injected a little more theme here and there, but for what it is, I think they did a great job. I think the art's cool. I think it's great that they took the opportunity to print the actual Legend of Hercules on these different cards. So you kind of read that chapter in the legend, and then you go into the battle. So I think it's cool that they made the choices that they did. And yeah, I think I like this game. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, if it's the right price point, I definitely would be interested in checking it out. I like rolling dice, and I think what you just said about like actually reading about the legend as you go through it sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I think like if you have somebody in your life that likes Greek mythology, this is a no-brainer. I think this and like the what is it, the horrified Greek monsters. I think those are like no-brainers because there's not enough Greek mythology games, I don't think.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. This one's currently priced right now. I can find it online for $20. So that's a pretty good price point for this game.
The price is right.
The price is right.
Nice.
Any other questions about Hercules and the 12 labors?
No, I think you did a lovely job. You said a lot of words that I would have struggled with. I'm proud of you.
Yes. Well, it felt like I was going through 12 labors myself briefing this game. So let's get the heck out of here for Operation Game Night. I have been Travis. He has been Clayton. This has been Operation Game Night. We are out.